Oh,
Ilka, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
God, it has been so long.
It's so nice to see you.
So, thank you so much for joining. I thought we will start at 2 and just
Yeah.
give me 1 second, please. Okay. Assalamu alaikum and hi everyone. And this is Maha Khan and I'm joined by Ilka today, Ilka Najam. And today we will be speaking about, eating disorders when we go on pilgrimage and Hajj and Umrah, because the main topic for the discussion always is, eating disorders and Ramadan. And but after, I think, the Ramadan, the second most important part of the discussion should be surrounding pilgrimage to Makkah and Medina, because this is one of the fundamental parts of Islam. It's, Hajj is also the fifth pillar of Islam. And for this reason, I have seen that, it really does create a lot of anxiety before people travel, and, what they will be doing while they are there, because, it's a change of place and everything. So, Ilka, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. And please, could you tell everyone about yourself? And if you could just please introduce yourself.
Um, so my name's Ilka, and I live in the UK. And I've been to Umrah like quite recently. So I've been about 2 years ago. So my experience with it is quite recent. And I had to, obviously, I've got experience with kind of handling the eating disorder while being on Umrah as well, and all the anxiety that comes along with it.
And so, Ilka, I mean, if you could just tell us about a bit about your, illness and how it started, and how long, you struggled with, and how long have you been in recovery for?
So mine started as a teenager, so around when I was 15 years old. And I've been in recovery from it, well, recently from it for about 5, 6 years now. And I had like bouts of recovery previous to that, but I think the most successful one is this this time. And I've tried several methods of recovery, and Islam obviously plays like a big part in all of that, like believing that, um, inshallah, like things will get better and stuff. But yeah, like it's been a very long road, and it's something that I manage now quite well. And I think that's quite an important thing to note, that it is like about managing it and eventually eventually getting to a place where you're like almost fully recovered.
So, Ilka, today, as I said before, the topic is we will be discussing, pilgrimage to Makkah and Medina, and traveling with, like, the eating disorders, as we know, don't disappear overnight. And, recently there has been a lot of open discussion around, eating disorders and holidays, like, the non-Muslim holidays as well, like Christmas and Easter. And also, the Ramadan has been one of the, very, very important topics of discussion since, I think, 2016. I mean, 2016, 2017. A year doesn't go by when we don't, like, hear about, eating disorders in Ramadan. And so, it has really, like, it has created a bit of the awareness as well. But, also, other day, one of the things I realized, that there was a lot of an anxiety because of since the COVID has ended, the travel has become a bit more easier. So people are
Yeah.
going on holidays, and I've seen, I mean, I think because, I come from a different culture. When I go on holidays, the last thing on my mind is how I will look when I go to the
Yeah.
beach, or how I will look at certain part of the day. It's never ever on my mind. But I was exposed to this, that, there is a lot of anxiety with people who are suffering from eating disorders, when they go on holidays, because to manage to be there. And then, I mean, since 2015, when I started the website in 2012, actually 2014, when the issue of the whole topic of Hajj and Umrah came up. And that's the first time I was exposed to the anxiety, because I've never been on Umrah, I've never been on Hajj. So I could never comment on this. So I used to speak about the month of Hajj as a month of blessing, where you can be at home and you can partake in the in the whole blessings. But then I was exposed to people who were actually traveling to Umrah and Hajj. And that's when I realized that there was a lot of anxiety which was involved. So I thought, I will ask you. I mean, you have, mashallah, I know you have been on holidays to other places as well, and you were in Al-Aqsa as well this year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, please, if you could tell us, about your you going on Umrah first, and how it was, and how did you feel and everything?
So Alhamdulillah, we went to Umrah. I think it was last year, and I really feel blessed that we did go. Obviously, before it was like I did have quite a bit of anxiety because it was a change in my routine. It wasn't like the kind of um, the day wasn't as it would be here that I'm used to. The food wasn't as it would be here as I'm used to. Um, and yeah, like the unknown is a quite a scary thing for anyone's, but especially if you like have an eating disorder as well, um, it does create quite a lot of anxiety. But um, I think what really helped me was having my family around with me. So I didn't do it alone, it was with family. And they are quite helpful and they're quite aware of um, the kind of ins and outs of my eating disorder, where I'm getting triggered and where I need a bit of help. So that really, really helped. And we went with a group as well, which was really helpful because we had a schedule that I knew what was coming up, and we went together to places, and it was just nice being in a group that you knew that you could talk to. But overall, it was such a spiritual experience that took over everything else. No, like just seeing the Kaaba for the first time, and the Prophet's mosque, and being in that surrounding and that environment. I think it was really nice as well because when you're living out of like Saudi Arabia, I guess, or out of that kind of Makkah Medina, um, it's more harder to follow. For myself personally, it's harder to follow like the Islamic kind of lifestyle in terms of like praying on time or running to the mosque or things like that, because we have work, we have other responsibilities. And being there, I think where you heard the azan, you went to the mosque along with like thousands of other people, and with the most amazing reciters. It was just, like the main focus all of a sudden was worship and just doing as much as you can and enjoying like the recitation, enjoying your moment with Allah and stuff. So it was really, really nice. Also, like you mentioned, with holidays where, there's the anxiety, body image anxiety, and like that sort of thing. But I found when I went on Umrah, we wore like hijab and the jilbab, and we were fully covered, and that goes out the window. Like all of a sudden, you don't really care because your body's not like it's covered. There's no kind of, you can't tell what shape anyone is, and everyone's dressed the same, and you're in a place where you're being the best Muslim you can be. So it was absolutely amazing. And then with Al-Aqsa, once again we went in Ramadan again, and it was the last 10 days. And it was different. It was very different, but we went with a group again, so we had that kind of schedule. We knew what we were following. But we were faced with sometimes like the army not allowing us to enter the mosque, or like there being too many people. Sometimes with just that anxiety, I guess, in general of like, are we gonna have to show our passport and things. So there was like a different kind of anxiety there. But once we entered Al-Aqsa, knowing again with the tour group, we got to have like really nice talks about the significance of Al-Aqsa. And then kind of finding out, the footsteps that we're taking are in a place that where other prophets have taken like footsteps or laid down or given a khutbah. Again, like that took over. It was wow, I'm in this really amazing place and trying to make the most of this amazing experience that we don't know if we'll ever get again. So um, I think I think anxiety is normal. Like like I said, like the unknown is scary, and especially if you have an eating disorder, it's hard to go out of your schedule and out of like what you know. um but when you go to these places, Umrah, Hajj, Al-Aqsa, all of a sudden everything just becomes easier. And that's not to say it's not hard work. You still have to work hard. Like I still had to work hard. I still had to be on top of it. And my family still were on top of it. They know, like they know they need to just keep an eye. I don't think they'll ever stop keeping an eye on me. But it just, the worship took over, and it was just amazing.
Ilka, I mean, you've been on other holidays as well, like not to Al-Aqsa, you've been to, I think you've been to America, you have been to Turkey and other places. So, I mean, did you feel, I mean, where was your eating disorder the weakest? I mean, I know that, and where did you feel it was more stronger? And where did you feel, I mean, did you feel the body image issues when you were on other holidays? Or yes, so if you could,
I would say definitely on other holidays it has like the body image issues are there, because like honestly I wouldn't dress the same as I would on Hajj and Umrah or like to Al-Aqsa as I would on any other holiday. Like I wouldn't honestly be wearing the hijab, inshallah one day, but like I know for myself when I've been, I haven't worn the hijab, or I haven't worn like a jilbab and things. So with what I'm wearing, it can be there have been issues there where I've felt bad on certain days, and that's sometimes dependent on, obviously as we know as women, that's dependent even on like time of the month, or if you're bloated, or it's different types of food. So like sometimes you'll wake up not feeling your best, it's a different time zone, so like your body clock's all out of place, so those things don't help. So like I've definitely felt a difference when it's not Hajj and Umrah, and to other places. And in terms of what I've found, I think definitely it's been the weakest in while I did Umrah. Like I think again, because I did it in Ramadan as well, it was a completely different experience. It was completely at the back of my mind. And it was, if it was, it was there, but it was like the smallest voice. It wasn't shouting, whereas when I've been on other holidays, depending on where I am in my recovery, or like it can be quite loud, or it can be quite manageable, but it all depends on how I'm doing at that time.
Yes. So, Ilka, I mean, it was Ramadan, but how did you get through because the food is completely different there, and Ilka, we do have, I mean, I never realized this, but when I went to Umrah, I was 45 days in Medina and 7 days in Makkah, and this is the first time I realized how, like, like I had this kind of my list of foods. I wouldn't say safe foods, but it's like we know what we're so comfortable, and we have this safety zone where we live with the food and everything.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're in a different place, and Ilka, one of the thing is, it's so unpredictable when you're in Umrah and Hajj. You don't know what is happening. Nobody knows because of the large crowds, and especially nobody, even in the group,
Yeah.
there is no way someone is going to go and, spend 3 hours looking for what you eat and your specific brands, because the focus is different. So, I mean, because I know, mashallah, you had a very transformative journey with your food as well. I mean, I think we all did. Oh my God. So, yes. So, how did you manage that, Ilka? Because that's one issue so many people have, when they're traveling, this is one thing. They're like, Maha, we don't know what to eat. We don't know what to do. So how did you manage?
I I know honestly that if I'd gone when I wasn't in a good place, it would have been a lot harder for me. I wouldn't have been able to join in as much. I would have really been like, I can only eat this and this and this. I cannot eat anything else. So for me personally, it would depend. It would have depended on like what kind of place I'm in mentally. Um, but if I know if that was the case, I would have took things with me. So like, kind of planning ahead, knowing that, okay, like that sort of my safe food or whatever is not going to be available there. I need to maintain my strength to be able to worship. So I would have taken things with me, pre-prepared, made sure I had enough so that I could have maintained that strength to be able to have worship at the forefront of this. Um, but for me, Alhamdulillah, at that time I was in a better place, and I have been since, Alhamdulillah. So like I was able to join in, and um, I wanted to join in with the others, so with the group. So we would, some of us became really good friends, and we would go out after Maghrib to go for food, and then return back for Tarawih. So, you know, there wasn't a lot of like good choices there. It was mostly like chicken and chips or like things that if I know if I wasn't in a good place, I would have been like, nope, no way, I can't eat this. So it's taken a lot of work for me to get to a place where I was like, okay, I can join in. I will have this. It's fine. I'll survive. I'll wake up tomorrow, inshallah. Everything will be fine. Um, but again, like if I wasn't there, I know I would need to pre-prepare, and I know that my family would kind of help me out with that. My mom would be more than willing to just, pack a load of stuff in that she knew I would be having. But the key there is kind of recognizing what place you're in, if you know you can manage. And also maybe just packing things in just in case you can't, just in case that you find a day difficult and you can't join in, or you can't just go and eat what's around there. But having that knowledge of yourself and the kind of boundaries of the eating disorder surrounding you is very important before like embarking on any holiday, let alone like Hajj or Umrah, because you want to be in the best health there. So worship is the main focus and not your eating disorder.
But Ilka, also it is a difficult journey, because when you're in Makkah, it requires a lot of walking.
Yeah.
When you are, so it's like so you feel it's important to be in a good physical health before you go.
Oh yes. We didn't, so like I said, I only did Umrah. It wasn't even Hajj. Hajj is like, Umrah is like a tiny little part of the whole of Hajj. So we did Umrah, and it was tiring. Like doing the tawafs and then the Safa Marwa walk, you are I can't explain the tiredness from that. It's on another level. You do it because like you're there for that purpose, and you gain the strength from the recitation, everyone else, like everyone. It's just such an amazing environment. But if you're not in a good place, you won't be able to cope. Or if you're, as in like, if you're not looking after yourself, you need to be in a place where you're like, right, I'm doing this, I need to make sure I'm fueled enough, because it is taxing. And yeah, it's a lot of steps. It's a lot of steps.
I think, one thing, I mean, I recently, because, this is, as I told you before we had our session, that this series was about Hajj and Umrah was highly requested, because I see there are a lot of people who are going on, pilgrimage. And I remember when I was speaking to people, so, one of the biggest issue was pre-travel and anxiety. I mean, I remember there was someone, and for this person, Ilka, it was the first time she was ever going to leave her hometown, go out of the country. She had never ever, done air travel. So, she went, and so I felt, there was, Ilka, the amazing thing is, like, once they are there, everything becomes okay.
Yeah.
It's like everything is like, what also I just feel that, people do have a lot of, pre-travel and anxiety, because, unknown. You don't know what
Yeah.
is going to happen about the food. But the amazing thing is that, Ilka, that everyone who has been so far, once they are there, Ilka, it's like,
Yeah.
yes, your illness is there, but it's like, everything settles down. But at the same time, I strongly feel that, that, before you go, do speak to your, if you are in treatment, speak to your treatment team, get
Yeah.
them to, know about the Hajj, and create the awareness, speak to your doctor, build yourself up for this journey. And also, Ilka, as you know, that, this is, we can't be naive. It is a place where we have so much large crowd, so many infections. You are very vulnerable. So it's not a place where, people can think, okay, you know what, because I have my eating disorder, I think I'm just going to restrict. I'm just not going to eat. You have to eat.
Another thing is, there's a lot, like, because everyone's trying to get around, like, especially Tawaf, if everyone's trying to get around, there's a lot of, like, pushing. We know that, like, when it's really crowded, there's a
Yes.
lot of people trying to get around, trying to get close to the Kaaba. And if you're not strong enough, you're not, like, you need to be able to withstand that, and be able to, like, withstand the walking, withstand the crowds, withstand the pushing, and so on. And yeah, like, and the heat. If you're going in, if you're going in the summer, the heat as well. It's a lot. Like, you need to be going there with the intention of, worship, and with the support of your treatment team. If you are in treatment, you cannot be going there and letting or giving any chance to your eating disorder taking over. But like you said, as soon as you get there, like, I think we have a lot of anxiety and, like, fear of the unknown, but it is literally just, your kind of anxiety making it really, like, scary. But yeah, all of that just kind of melts away as soon as you get there, and it becomes a lot easier when you're there. But
And I think, yes. Sorry, please go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, like, but you do need to keep on top of it, because you don't want that to overtake the worship.
Exactly, because I mean, as you said, I completely agree with you. When you are doing the tawaf around the Kaaba, you may, I mean, if like you have skipped a meal, maybe you will survive for 5-10 minutes. But then, Ilka, it's your mind. You need to focus,
Yeah.
because you have to be so aware. You have to protect yourself. You have to make sure you don't fall, you don't get a blackout, you don't get any of this. And you really need to, because there is a responsibility on you. And one of the
Yeah.
responsibilities is your health and your well-being. So your body needs to be fueled. You need to have enough fuel to complete that, 2 hours of pilgrimage, Safa, Marwa, and everything. And as we said, it's not a place to get ill. And the reason
No.
this is not a place to get ill, because the people who do suffer from eating disorders, they do have a weak immunity. They are vulnerable to so many things, and this is not a place to go to the hospitals or anything. So, this is what, and you want everyone to have a very good experience. So I do feel maybe this is, one of the ideal journeys, people who are struggling and suffering to go on. Because here, I honestly, Ilka, I think this is the only place on the earth where your illness really does become weak.
Yeah.
It's like the control is taken out of your hands.
Yeah. Oh,
It's
I just wanted to say, like, also, I remember this event. So here's where there's like you were saying, you can't control anything. Um, where we went for a group meal, and some of the people didn't come with us. They turned up like an hour later, and we were waiting there hungry, all of us. And you planned in, okay, like I'm gonna eat at this time. We're gonna eat with these people, and then like everyone's an hour later, and then it creates a lot of anxiety there, um but then it's I would say from my experiences, like having those experiences and getting through it also proves to you that you can get through it. Like all of that anxiety it's there, but going on holiday, going to Umrah and going to Al-Aqsa and doing the best you can and being doing the best for yourself and putting worship at the forefront, when you come back from these places, you realize that the anxiety was just that. It was anxiety. You can do it. It is possible. You just have to be well prepared. You just have to like have kind of, like I said, have a knowledge of the boundaries of your eating disorder and be able to deal with those the best that you can.
And I think also, Ilka, this is like the only place, where, normally, like, I'll be very honest with you, we feel when we are not when we are not in that setting, when we are not in Saudi Arabia, we are not in, doing the pilgrimage. So the difference is when you're in your own home, in your own comfort zone, your illness, somehow, the demon does, appear. It's
Yeah.
kind of there. But then this is the only place where you're like, it's there, a little part is there, but can you see, because the majority, 99.9% who go to pilgrimage, their focus is Allah, and it's like you're given no choice. So whether you like it or not, you have to, because you're in a group. So
Yeah.
it's not like you can say to your family, I'm going to take a break, I don't want to go, I don't feel good. No, you have to
Yeah.
go. So
Yeah.
it's like, I remember when I was in treatment, and one of the ladies, she said one thing really good. One day we were having a group session, and we had our lunch, and after a lunch you have to sit down for 45 minutes, and so you're reflecting, and also it's also to discourage people from doing other eating disorder behaviors. And I remember she said something really good. Debbie said, she said, what? I only think one thing with eating disorder is go cold turkey.
Mm-hmm.
Go cold turkey on all your behaviors. And I realized that, once, we were in Makkah and Medina. I'm being very honest with you, Ilka. There was absolutely not even a 5 minutes of space for me to go and do the star jumps or run around or do any of this. There was no time, because it's one prayer time. You have to do it. There is no choice. Then comes the other, and especially when it comes to the meal times, your focus is not, whether I can have my choice of food. Your focus is eat and go and do what you're here to do. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, so I just remembered. So again from Umrah, so I struggle with doing Tarawih normally in Ramadan. I find them really hard to do, and I think they they're hard work. But I found that Al-Aqsa and Umrah, initially, like my first ever very long Tarawih was in Umrah. And I remember it was 8 rakats, so it was really long surahs. It wasn't short breaks, it was long, long surahs. So you stood there for ages. And we'd again been fasting, we'd had our iftar, we were fueled, but we were tired. And everyone was like, my mom wanted to do it, and then my sister was like, okay, I'll do it, and I was like, okay, I'll do it as well. And like we had a few friends from the group who were also doing it. And there was this auntie who was older than the rest of us, and she was doing it as well. So like everyone inspired me, and so stood up, did it. It was hard. It was so hard. My eyes were closing. I was trying to concentrate. I was like, stay awake, don't fall down, don't fall asleep. And after every kind of rakat was finished, every two was finished, I was like, okay, get back up again. All right, carry on. And then after the 8 was finished, I was like, Mom, I cannot do this again. I'm not doing this again. It was too hard. No way. Then came the next day, and it was Tarawih time. And it was like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Right, I'm going to try again. Again, really hard to get through. It didn't get any easier, but ever so slightly easier. Like it became ever so slightly easier. Then the next day, did it again, ever so slightly easier. And again, for the whole of the 10 days that we were there, I prayed Tarawih every single day, even though initially I was like, never going to do this again. I cannot just stand there. And I think even like Al-Aqsa, we used to stand there and do it. But because I'd already done it at Umrah, I knew it was going to be long. I knew it was going to be hard. And this time it was 20 rakats. So it was like a bit more broken up. But again, it was still hard. It was still long. But everyone was doing it. And we did it. I got through it. And I think it's a great way of like explaining with the eating disorder where it's like, you might find things really hard at first. Like things might feel like a struggle, but you get back up again and you pray the rakats. You eat that thing that you find hard again. Or like, you go and choose one of the things that are eaten in that certain country and you do it again, or you go on holiday again even though it gives you anxiety, or you go on Umrah again even though last time it was a bit hard. But every time you do it again and again and again, it gets easier. Your brain learns that things will get easier. And then, like I said, Alexa, I didn't even question. I just did it. Like there was no kind of thing of not doing this again. I haven't done it for a year, not doing this again. I just did it. And because I knew I could do it. And again, like that kind of, I think that's a really good analogy for the eating disorder as well. Like, even if you found one day hard, you can still get up and try again. It's not going to be the end of the world. Even if you're on Umrah or on holiday, one day was hard doesn't mean the rest of your days have to be hard. It's not a linear thing. It's going to be like ups and downs. But yeah, like I thought it really like related well to like the eating disorder and that perseverance in kind of keeping going.
Ilka, as Ramadan, the one of the topics which came up about Ramadan, how people suffering from eating disorders feel so isolated during Ramadan because they can't fast, they don't feel a part of the fraternity, and the isolation and, these topics, like every day it's amazing, something, it's like the only topic when it comes to eating disorders in Muslims is Ramadan. Honestly, that's the only topic which comes up, and I think this topic is so like always being discussed, and it really like I think it really makes people who are suffering from eating disorders, even when they don't even have the awareness of the harshness maybe of their eating disorder, they feel it because of the media exposure during Ramadan.
Yeah.
So even if they don't want to feel left out, they will feel left out, because why? Because the articles are there, everything is being discussed, and it has been being discussed since 2014, and there are so many other topics, but this is one thing. I mean, I feel when we go on Hajj and Umrah, we feel part of the fraternity.
Yeah.
So it's not, we are no longer excluded. It doesn't matter whether you have an illness or no, you're part of everyone. Ilka, the way you dress, it's like, alhamdulillah, it's so amazing that, yes, you travel with your illness, but do you see how, in comparison to Ramadan, how weak it is there?
And I feel like, when you go to Umrah and even again to Al-Aqsa, like all of a sudden you're living life the way that Allah intended you to live by the Quran, the way the Prophet wanted you to live it. And it's so peaceful. Like there's no like, oh, I'll pray my namaz later, or I'll read my Quran maybe like next week or something. Like there's none of that. All of a sudden it all just comes so easily. Like I think here as well, in the UK and I guess in other countries as well, if you wear the hijab, like, and so on, like you can sometimes feel kind of different, because not everyone does it. But everyone's wearing it. Everyone's dressed as is in like kind of expected in Islam and stuff. So it just, everything does become easier. Like the Ramadan, I found fasting so much easier in the holy cities. It was like we felt the hunger, but we didn't. Like it's weird. You don't really feel it. Um, and you know, like Alhamdulillah, I was able to fast as well because for many years I wasn't able to fast because it wasn't recommended by my treatment team, and it wasn't something that I felt I could do without engaging in the eating disorder, like without pleasing that eating disorder. So I didn't do it because I wanted worship to be at the forefront. And I wanted Ramadan to be about Ramadan and not, how much less you can eat and so on. So, like, I had to be very careful in choosing to fast during Ramadan. But I know that there were people, again, in our group, there was an older lady with us who wasn't able to fast because of the medication she was on. There were some ladies who started their period, they couldn't fast, but no one knew. Like, it wasn't, or if it was like, oh, I'm not fasting, no one kind of made like a thing of it. Whereas I think here, if you look, if you're young and you're like, actually, I'm not fasting in Ramadan. Sometimes I think not just the media, but like our own kind of um, Muslim brothers and sisters can kind of make it quite awkward instead of, like, okay, there must be a reason, you're allowed not to fast for medical reasons and so on. So, um, like, I think I definitely felt a difference there in terms of just that unity and just that understanding there as well.
I agree with you. Ilka, I really felt that, it doesn't matter what you do there, nobody judges you.
Yeah.
Like there is no room for judgment, and you're absolutely right. Like, some people, they do fast. Some, people are not fasting, and you would see that they were elderly women, why, you're waiting to open your fast, and, they would go and they would get some water and come and sit with the water, and they would be drinking
Yeah.
the water.
Yeah.
Not a single person would say to them, that, why you're not fasting. And I think the acceptance, I think this is the only place, Ilka, where you feel that, you're accepted and you're not worried about, the things, which do create a lot of anxiety. And, the clothes, when you are, I have been on holidays and, I mean, I think my experience was, completely different. But, I remember recently when I was speaking to someone and they said, their major, Ilka, their concern about the holiday was, now this is the same person who has been on pilgrimage as well and really suffered from, illness very severely. And she had a lot of struggles while she was there. But I was so proud of her because Ilka, she was aware. So her main priority while she was on pilgrimage was to keep herself safe, not to get ill, and to look after herself. And she did it really well.
Yeah.
I really felt, and I don't even remember, even if we discussed it, the only thing we discussed about the clothes was how the fabric has to be very nice and cool and comfortable, for the comfort. But now, whereas, these holidays are coming up, I was shocked. I mean, the anxiety was so much there. And the main anxiety was that, what she will be wearing when they go for evening soir, evening dinner. What
Yeah.
she will be wearing when they go on a beach,
Yeah.
what she will be wearing when they go on breakfast. I was shocked. I'm like, I've never heard these things, that you, and she was very conscious. And she said, she's been through at least, she's been shopping to so many places, from Mango to H&M to, everywhere. And she said she's exhausted for, shopping. She buys something, she wears it, and then she changes her mind. And then she's so concerned about the competition, the people who are with her. And
Yeah.
I've seen, because, not just her, I was watching one of the, someone sent me a link to one of the YouTube videos. They were very inspired by this YouTuber. Her name is Lena, she's from America
Oh
States.
yeah. Yeah, I know about her.
Yeah, yeah. So the video was, the Lena, she's a mother, and she was really upset in the video. And now this lady, I don't think so she has any, body image issues, she has any eating disorder, nothing. But what she was upset about, Ilka? She was very upset that, when she was on holidays, because she's a mother and she wears hijab, she felt that, other girls were dressed, more freely in, in very liberal outfits, but whereas she was feeling very, very kind of restricted, and she saw
Yeah.
the competition. But whereas, this is the place where, honestly, Ilka, you don't, will you even think about, looking at your sister and seeing, what she's wearing, or the woman who's next to you? No, there is no thought, nothing. You're comfortable. I don't even think so a single body image issue goes through your mind.
No.
You don't even care at the end what you're wearing. You're like, let's just go and do what we have to do. But
Yeah.
I think this is, so then I remember there was a quote, if you look at the flowers, that if the sunflower is next to the rose, they would never think of competing.
Mm.
They would never, the rose would never say to the sunflower, why you're yellow and I am red.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
this is how it should be, but somehow, I feel that, Alhamdulillah, Allah has given us a very ideal place, which is in the form of, the three places you should be visiting are Al-Aqsa, Makkah, and Medina. And if you want to, spiritually heal, you want to physically heal as well, I think this is a very ideal place, because, this all, like, these things which shouldn't, Ilka, there is so much to life than thinking about, at 11 o'clock what I should be wearing,
Yeah.
or, whether, and look, thinking about your arms, or, like every part of your body. I mean, I think there is so much more to life, but that's the reality. I've
Mm.
learned that, these are the things. The illness is very, very strong in other areas, but
Mm.
when you're there, 90% of your problems are gone. They're kind of
Yeah.
automatically resolved. Yes.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And like you don't give a second thought about what you're wearing. You've got your set of abayas, your set of like hijabs, like, and you know exactly what you're wearing. Everyone's wearing the same thing, and you can't tell what another person looks like. And it's really freeing and really nice, and it is different to like if you go on a different holiday. All of a sudden, it's like, what am I gonna wear? Like, I need to get my dresses. I need to get this. I need to get this. um, because you do suddenly become aware of other people being able to see like parts of your body that maybe you would have covered going to Hajj or Umrah, um, and just you know it's not as spiritual. So like the things that wouldn't matter in Umrah suddenly matter now, or like things that wouldn't matter in like the spiritual holiday matter all of a sudden, and your looks matter and so on. Um, but it is like I think a lot of like the body image stuff is like it's to do with us obviously personally, like our own internal kind of struggle, but sometimes it is a lot to do with other people as well. You're suddenly like, oh, what is this other person gonna think, what is this other person gonna think? And um unfortunately, it's a common thing where people pass comments, or people like will kind of, even your own family members sometimes will be like, oh, you've gained a bit of weight, or oh, you're looking a bit skinnier, or oh, this, or you're showing this, so that doesn't look right. Like, and we're aware of that, obviously, and I think we have a lot of anxiety based on that, where it's like, well, what will other people think? But I find that that's more present when it's when it's like not Umrah, not Al-Aqsa. Like you are suddenly more aware of that sort of stuff. Um, and you're taking pictures, like, and you're wearing dresses which are maybe a bit more tighter, and
Mm.
you do see what you look like. Whereas again in Umrah, you're like wearing really flowy stuff, so you don't really care. It's not really as big of a like concern.
But Ilka, also, our relations, we do have very troubled and challenging, not very troubled, but because of, our illness, we do, the relations, do get impacted. They are affected because, the illness lashes out at anything and
Hmm.
anyone who is there to challenge its existence. So, but, one thing, I found, and I don't know whether you agree or not, it doesn't matter how troubled your relations are, but once you're there, because the relations improve
Yeah.
automatically. The remarks and the comments, they are kind of they're not like there is a decrease, like they decrease by like 80% or 90%. So
Yeah.
did you feel that your relations were more better, that even you traveled with a group, so
Yeah.
you didn't know those people, so do you feel that you were like kind of in a different, you were in a different place, but do you feel that your interaction with people, it was more normal in those
Oh,
settings?
definitely, like I can 100% say, when I've not been well, when I've not physically been well, and when I've been underweight or very underweight, I don't have the brain capacity to have a conversation, let alone like hold a conversation. My whole world at that point would have revolved around food and exercise and how many calories and how much this and how much this. Like you can't, you'd be talking, I mean, I'd be talking to someone and I'm not really listening because like my brain's trying to figure out how many calories were in that, I don't know, piece of bread I had before, I don't know, something like that. So like I my relations definitely suffered during that time. You do lash out because you find anyone who's trying to help is like an enemy, and like, they're trying to change me, they're against me and so on. Um and so, you know it does affect relations a lot. And like you said, like as you get better, you realize that they weren't against you, that they were just trying to help you. And so, in a way, you kind of come to that realization, come to realize how much they love you and how much all they wanted to do was see you well. And like the comments do reduce and stuff. And um also, like, people comment in general. Like, I think we just take it too much to heart sometimes,
Mhm.
and we just see it as an attack, whereas, someone might just be saying it as a joke or something, and another person might be like, "Ha, whatever," but we'll be like, "Oh my God, like that's the end of the world." So I think definitely, like, a healthy body is kind of nothing without a healthy mind. Like you can, but also you can't you can't really have a healthy mind. You can't give your mind a chance to be healthy without a healthy body. Like you need to be in a place where you are somewhat weight restored, or in a good place where your brain actually has enough nourishments to hold conversations, to be present, to prioritize other things apart from the eating disorder and all its rules. So in Umrah, because I was in a better place, yes, I was able to have conversations and able to make friends with people. I don't think I would have been able to do that. I think I would have been very isolated. I would have not joined in with the food, not joined in with like going to places and having conversations. And it makes a big difference. You suddenly are living and you know, being present and in having creating memories and creating like friendships even.
And Ilka, one of the another reason why Allah has given us, Hajj and Umrah, Allah takes us, Allah doesn't need to create a house, because Allah is everywhere. We know that, Allah is
Yeah,
not limited to Makkah or Medina, and our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is indeed, his blessings are not. So, these are the places which Allah has created for us to go, because, this is the only place, Ilka, where, we, it's not about us, we are given, there are guidelines, if you want to do Umrah, there is no way you can say, what, I only want to do one circle around the Kaaba,
yeah,
tawaf, and my Umrah will be complete. No, it's,
yeah,
seven. The clothing is so specific, Allah said, this is my place, these are my rules, this is, and and we are given instructions on how to behave, about our mannerism, and everybody knows. I mean, mashallah, we are over 2 point some billion, population, Muslims are, and everybody in their lifetime does want to go to Hajj and Umrah. But when you go there, everything changes, all of a sudden, Allah has given you the guidance. Like, for example, we know that about Ramadan, when the discussion of eating disorder comes up. So, they really focus on, be kind to the people who are suffering, show empathy, show love and everything. So when we go to Hajj and Umrah, these things are really like, it's like they are more emphasized, they are more there, you have to be patient
Yeah.
in large crowds, and that it's not about you, you're there for a reason. You can't be unkind. I mean, can you, imagine having a quarrel? No, because you're not supposed to do that. You can't be unkind, you can't lie, you can't do so many things, so everything takes a back seat. But I was thinking this is how our life should be
Yeah.
like, like when we go there, it's simply to reaffirm what Allah wants us to do, So He takes us there so we can renew ourselves, break away from everything. So when we come back, we can really put into practice, what Allah wants us to do. So I don't think so, we like, as you said, these comments, they decrease. I don't think so, if someone is going to sit there and tell you you don't look right or you don't look like that. This is how it should be. This is how the life should be, when we come
Yeah.
back. The kindness, the tolerance, love, and, perseverance, we should be practicing all of them, and especially, people who are suffering, because their suffering decreases. And honestly, Ilka, the amazing thing is I even saw elderly people who were on so many medication, but the
Yeah.
joy, the love, the people travel with the chronic illnesses.
Yeah.
I mean, recently there were stories of, this man, from Pakistan for 45 years. He was so
Mm.
poor. He saved up money. For 45 years, Ilka, he was saving up
Awesome.
the money, and at the end, he sold his house and he died while he was there. So, Allah took him. And so, I was thinking that, there is a reason, there is a purpose behind our pilgrimage, So when it's, and our well-being shouldn't just be limited to there. Our mental health being, wellness of our mental health shouldn't just be limited to there. It should be all year round. So, when we come back, this is, what we should put into practice in the families, they should exercise the same thing, the same
Yeah.
kindness and tolerance and patience and everything,
Yeah.
you
I
know.
found also, like, I think like I said, it was a different experience going to Alexa. And I think they're like just seeing how just kind and amazing the Palestinian people were despite all their suffering. Um, I think that was a really, really like important reminder to, even if you're facing the worst, and they are facing the worst persecution, like we have no idea what they go through day in, day out. But like, for us, that might be the eating disorder and like facing like those challenges. But the fact that they had a smile despite all of that, they were kind. Like we had Palestinian like ladies just literally gift us with things, and one Palestinian took us out to have kunafe, which was amazing. And it was just that appreciation, that kindness, and suddenly it was like, you know, they would tell us like, oh, my brothers died under occupation. This brother's in jail. This child is like died here because like the Israeli soldiers shot them down. Like there was so much suffering that they went through, and yet they were still amazing human beings. And um, it's so important to take from that and be inspired by that and try and just, you know, bring that back home. And I know it's harder, you come back and everything's kind of, you sometimes might get stuck back into the same routine and so on, but to remember those things and like try and remember like your experiences and what inspired you there, and try and continue that. It's hard. It is hard because life does take over. Like your job might not allow you to pray on time, or you might face very difficult people at your workplace and so on. But like you said, to bring back those good values and continue them over here when you come back home.
And Ilka, also, I mean, I was very amazed. There was someone from Algeria, and this person is very, very dear to me. She's a very special person, has suffered from her eating disorder for a very long time. And I used to really feel that she's very restricted. She's always in one setting. There was no change. And then she went to Umrah. And for me, that was so amazing, because as you said, Ilka, we are so comfortable. That we go out of our way to create our safety network, our safety with our illness. We do. It takes even though we will say, we are okay. But even I realized that, I do things, to make sure that, I'm secure. And then my security, really doesn't matter to me. And so subconsciously, you don't even realize that, you're not, you may think you're protecting yourself, you're looking after yourself, it's about you, but subconsciously somehow, this illness is still involved. So you're kind of, trying to secure the illness. Maybe you're not aware of it, but you are subconsciously doing it. So, when you are in these places, Ilka, I think this is the only place, like when I used to travel with my father, I used to remember, we used to go together, and I was like completely in my own world, yes, have no idea what is happening, who's there, who's doing what, absolutely no memory, Ilka. I was in completely, like I used to just, put my head down and follow him. And he would do things, and some days he would force me to do certain things, But this is the only place, where you're kind of forced to break out of everything, because it's like you're not given much of a choice. And as you said, like when I went to Al-Aqsa was my first, the second pilgrimage, The first I went to was on conference to Saudi Arabia, so I went to see the Kaaba. But when I went to Al-Aqsa, honestly, Ilka, I cannot even tell you, like, it was like, wow, when you're stopped, because, the mosque is our home. You don't have permission to enter the mosque, and then all of a sudden you're there, and the security is there. You don't even know whether you're going to enter. And you're thinking, the border, and you're there, you need a patience. It's the first time. And then, this is us who are not even living under the occupation, and we feel so challenged. And then I remember when I came back from Al-Aqsa in 2014, and then I remembered one thing. I said, what, we are living under occupation of our eating disorder, the way these people, so this is something, we have to break, free from. And so again, the gratefulness, I don't think so, Ilka, we would come this far if it wasn't for the exposure. If it's so easy to be comfortable in your world, that, just think about your exercise, your eating disorder rituals, the routine, and it's a completely 199% self-destruction. You're destroying yourself, you're destroying the family, you're destroying everything around you, because it does have a ripple effect. So I think it's really important, when we go to these places, because, these are very important places. So even if you don't want to be aware of, what is around you, you become aware. Like Ilka, the Al-Aqsa was very, very powerful. I remember, when we traveled to the, I forgot the name of this city where Prophet Hazrat, I think Adam's grave is, I forgot the name of the city. It was so shocking. Like, because I saw the army everywhere, and the way they were pointing the guns, and the broken streets. And so, and it really makes you realize, we have so much, but the problem is, this the illness which is in the mind restricts us, so you are, living under occupation, and the under the occupation means you're restricted to certain rituals. You have no freedom to move around. Like, Ilka, when your ED was at its peak. Oh my God, I remember you told me the story about you guys had to go out one day, for your mother wanted to take you for chicken and chips or something. Do you remember? So, it's
Was it
like you
the
are,
one? Was it the one where I ran?
So,
My mom wanted me to have chicken and chips, and I ran because I
so
could not have it. It was not allowed. Well, that was the eating disorder talking. Like I just
yeah.
couldn't. But it is. It's like you're kind of your hands and your feet are like everything's bound, including your mind, and you're literally like, I can't. Nope, can't do it. There's no way around it. I remember. I mean, I don't want to go too much into it, but like, even like the eating disorder convinced me that I couldn't have water. Water wasn't allowed, like essential part of life. Water wasn't allowed. Like, it's so restrictive, and it feels like an occupation.
Yes.
Like, and but that's why it's so important to fight against it and fight against that, but it is in our control. That's the thing. Like the Palestinians, they're not in control. They have to suffer every day. And we do have the power to change things. It's hard. It's really, really, really hard. It's not a walk in the park, and it takes years and years, and I'm nowhere near like completely fine. I have to work every single day to be okay. But it's taken work to get to a place where I am now, and it's going to take work to get further from where I am now to get better.
Time, the time has flown by and it's coming to an end. And so, I mean, thank you so much, because, I really wanted this to be a very easy session where you speak about your experience, because it's so important, because there are so many people, Ilka, who will be going on pilgrimage. So this session is really going to help them, to see that, it's okay, this is the place, this is the birthright, they have to break, free from the prison, they have to fly.
Yeah.
And this is the ideal place for the healing. So thank you so much. And thank you so much for speaking about Al-Aqsa as well. And before we go, I really have to say, I am, mashallah, there are few people I'm so proud of, and you are one of them, Ilka. I've been with you for such a long time. I've seen your appearance change, your hair and everything, the transformations, mashallah, and with the food and everything. And I think you have done so well, and so many people, they're so proud of you, and also about the before we go off, I want you to give our audience, the girls, there are so many people, Ilka, they are like they haven't been anywhere, and so and in their mind, even though they would prefer not to go, but they know it's a religious, it's Allah would like for them to go to Al-Aqsa and Makkah and Medina. So for Allah, they want to embark on this journey. So what is your message to people who are struggling, who are living with their eating disorder, and who are in recovery as well? Let's cover everyone who has suffered, who's suffering, and everyone who's in recovery, wherever they are, about going on the Hajj and Umrah.
I would say that it is the most amazing experience. And, if you're in a place where you're struggling and it's a little bit too hard, strive to get to a place where you can go. And, give yourself that motivation to, like, if not this year, inshallah, I'm going to work hard for the next year to be able to go, to be able to work, perform Hajj or Umrah and like fulfill your duty and have that amazing experience. And if you're in a place where you are better and you're considering it, but you're anxious about it, I just from personal experience, like anxiety is perfectly normal. There's nothing wrong with being anxious. It's a normal human feeling. We have the power to decide what we do with that anxiety, whether we let it take over or whether we accept it, acknowledge that it's there and still do what we want to do. And if you want to go and do your Umrah and Hajj, you have to try and do it despite the anxiety, because the anxiety is going to be there regardless. If you go and do it, at least you've shown that anxiety that you can do it. And the next time you want to go, that anxiety is going to be a little less, because you've proven that fear wrong, and you've proven to that anxiety that you will survive. You come back out of it. You've survived, and you come back out of it having like fulfilled your duty, having worshipped, having, you know, those amazing enlightening experiences. So I mean, I would recommend it regardless, either as a motivation or as something that you do despite the anxiety, and prove to yourself that you can.
Thank you so much, Ilka. This was so amazing and
Thank
so
you
good
for
to
having me. It's been amazing talking to you.
Inshallah, we will catch up soon. Okay, so we are signing off, and thank you, everyone. This will be on our YouTube channel, inshallah, and we have 2 more articles coming on Hajj series soon. So inshallah, please do watch out for them, and please do support our work as well. The link is in bio for just giving. It's all going to help the people who are suffering from eating disorder with their treatment, and we don't take any money from anyone, and we never charge people. So whoever comes our way, they need help, please send us a direct message, and we will put you through to a therapist or someone, inshallah. Okay, so
Can I
we're
just say,
signing off.
before you sign off, you do the most amazing work, and mashallah, the fact that you try and raise awareness and try and help so many people around the world who are finding it difficult, it's absolutely amazing. And like you said, like there's a page where you can donate, and it's not like a government funded organization. It comes out of people's, charity, and I hope like more people will give and like yeah, support this amazing cause.
Thank you so much, Ilka. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Right. Walaikum salam.